Hello guys, great to see you back again for another video. I'm Rob, and in this video I will show you about the front travelogue of the Nashorn and how I made it. There's a lot of cutting pieces, very thick, 4 centimeter thick. The tube that I didn't have in the correct diameter and the correct thickness. How I got to make those pieces. So I hope you enjoy this video. I've started working on parts for the travelogue in the front. This will be the barrel clamp. These will be attached like this, same as the bottom. This will be the hinge. It's 3 parts, still need to be drilled. These are 2 layers, because otherwise I didn't have the correct thickness. This will be the hinge pin, so these will be welded all around, and then on the inside will be I don't know what material yet, like a canvas material about a centimeter thick, to protect the barrel from steel on steel. For now I will use this rubber strip for the spacing, so that's all correct, and I will tack weld this piece in same thickness as the hinge. Just for measurement, so I can continue work, and then I'll take this away to guy with the lathe, as well as these bushings. They need to be turned out in the inside diameter to fit over the tubes. So these are the 2 tubes, the legs that will go from these points up to the barrel. And this will be the attachment points. This is a long bolt with some threads on the end, but mostly with straight shaft without threads. Bushing. These rivet of these washers will become the plate, so it will be a solid plate. I will weld them on the inside first together, the 3, then weld them on the bolts, and then get them turned down to the correct diameter. They're a bit large, so they need to be turned out down about 5-6 millimeters, and then for the other side is the same. So first I will tack weld those parts together, the thickness, to get the correct thickness, and then I will attach it to the barrel where that rubber strip is, and then I can attach the legs. And then when the parts are back from the lathe, I can start working on those pieces. This 4 centimeter thick steel needs a hole about 48 millimeters thick for sitting on this tube. One side, the right hand leg, will have 2 of those rings, and then one of these plates will be in between and will be movable, and the other side will be welded, and then in between those 2 blocks there will be a 20 millimeter solid rod to strengthen the frame. These parts, forgot to mention that, the outer shell was a tube that was considerably larger, and I opened the vise like 10 centimeters, put it in, and then start hammering it, not too hard, so that you bend it slowly, and then hammer it so long that it will fit this shape, but still not 100% perfect, so I weld it where it's closed, and then with a clamp I'll close it down. So the alignment is pretty good. What I can see, it looks like it's a bit loose, so I need to take something out, but for now, for being able to put the rods in, it should be okay, because I can shorten the upper part that is hinged, so it can be clamped down further, but that shouldn't be a problem. I'm gonna tack all the parts together, and then I can move it back or forwards to align with the two rods. I forgot to film when welding the tubes in and adjusting them to the correct size, but it's really simple. Here at the bottom it rests on a round tube, so we have to notch the bottom tube with the grinder with an abrasion disc to the correct shape of that tube. The bottom parts were equal length, and then cutting down the top tube till it fits next to the part where it's welded now, and then marking the correct angle and cutting it off. The first one I had to adjust it once or twice, and the second one was spot on. You can see probably on the right hand side there's a little gap in between, but it's easy enough to weld up. And then where it transitions to the thicker tube, there these blocks will come. There's 2 blocks, but I still have to drill it. I can do that only in the weekend at the company, where they have a big machine. It's a 50mm drill, so it can fit the red tube. So I have to cut off the tack welds here in order to fit those parts, and also these 2 bushings need to go on the right hand side. But first I will prep the bolts that go through, weld those, and send everything off to the lathe guy so he can finish those parts, and when that is finished next week I can finish the rest, because the 2 blocks, one will be welded here and the other one will be able to swivel here with the bushings, one on top, one on the bottom, and then there will be a 20mm rod in between. And then I still need to put strengthening parts on the sides to strengthen the connection to the clamp. So for this one there will be plate on this side, and for the other one will be plate on the other side going up to the hinge. So I can make those, and then I have to wait for the parts to be ready, but in the meantime I will do some other stuff. Made a cardboard template for the strengthening plates. I need 2 of them. And you can see on the left hand side this strip is sticking out. I need to shorten it, which is difficult to see on the picture with the measurements how long it needed to be. But yeah, better too long than too short. And it needs to be about 1 centimeter beyond the tube. So about 4 centimeters I can cut off. And then of course on this side I have to make the clamp, the bolt for clamping down, and on this side the hinge, but that needs to be turned on the lathe first. So I have made the 2 steel braces. If you want to see some plasma cutting, I will put up a link in the top right corner from another video, so you can see the plasma cutting, how I do it and with which machine. So this is mostly done. Need to put the hinge in after it has been turned on the lathe. And on this side needs to be 2 blocks, one with a threaded end and a wing nut, and the other so that you can clamp it down. And need to shorten the top half a bit, because now it's just a little bit loose around it. And I've taken the bolts out, prepared them for the lathe so they can go too, and I have to make the brace in between these 2 points, and then I can finish weld everything, clean it up, paint it, install it. Got some of the parts back from the lathe. These are the rings, so they will fit the tube now. I have a little scrap piece here, and it's a bit of a tight fit, but I can push them on by hand, like that. And this is the hinge. Pin is in there. Bolts are already in. I need to shorten the thread here, and I have to find out how the knot is being kept on. First I will make the closing part, so the two blocks with the threaded end for clamping it down, and then I'll put the hinge on, and the two blocks that I need, I still need to drill them, but I can do that in the weekend, so it will be a few days, and then I can finish all the rest of the part off. Got the plates. These two will be welded to the bottom half, and then these two are slightly bigger to the bottom, to the top half, with one in between, and that one in between where my thumb is, there will be a threaded end coming from it, and that will be with the nut clamping down the clamp. So the three blocks that will be on top need a hole straight through, and the middle one will have a slightly larger hole so that it can swivel, and the other ones, there will be a hollow pin in it that will have a tight fit on the outer two, and then the inner one will be able to swivel, and that one needs a threaded hole in the bottom as well. So I'm going to first drill straight through all three pieces at the same time. So that block is finished for the one hole. For the one where the bolt goes through, I have to drill it, but for tapping it's good now. I want 8mm steel pin in it, not a hollow one, what I said before, because it's solid steel pin is stronger. And I will put it in with Loctite so that it doesn't move out, and I can put some center around it so it won't, it's not able to move out anyway. And then this whole 0.5mm larger is enough for the pin to be able to move, or for not the pin but for swiveling. When I'm gonna weld these on the clamp, we'll put the pin in first. That way I will be sure that everything is aligned and stays aligned. So I have to make sure I assemble it like this first, tap the hole. I have to cut off the corners. And when that all is done, I can weld it on the clamp. So I have the pin in. I hope you can see it. Put some center points around the pin on both sides so it won't move out. The bolt still is being able to swivel. Put 2 nuts on it, tighten them together, and then you can use the key to drive the threaded end in, and it's tight in here. And these are the 2 other blocks, so I have checked how much space I have left in between, and that's more than enough. So now I can tack weld everything together, and then I can start working on the hinge. The hinge is normally part of the clamp. It's rolled from the same sheet steel. Now I've used bushings, but I will make a cut, take a piece out, and then weld it to the rest of the part so that it looks like it's one piece. As I said before, the clamp is still a little bit too loose around it, so I need to cut off a piece. I can do that later from the inside, so there's no problem. So I have to attach this a bit higher than you would do normally. I think I need to cut off about a centimeter and have about a centimeter play. I will place it a little bit higher than that. Something like this. I think I need to shorten the pieces a little bit, including this one. It sticks out a bit too far. And now I have an opening here. So the opening I will cut off on one side. And that also fits better. So we'll do that first. Now I can start working on the hinge, and that's on the other side. I had tack welded a piece of round stock of the same outer dimension in it. I don't know if you can see it. We've got a slot in it with a grinder, and on this side resembles the end piece of the steel, and the other piece will be welded to the rest. So it resembles if this piece of metal is being rolled like this. So because I cut down the piece, the barrel piece, still hot, because I have cut a slot in it, I need to be very careful how I align it so that's correct. So I will first tack weld the inner part and then assemble the other two to it. I've cleaned up the pieces a little bit. This one is a bit tight, so I have to remind that when I'm taking it out again. But I want to see to what extent it will fit and how it will lie down and everything. As said before, I have a piece of rubber in between now. That will change later. But we have to find out first what kind of material there should be. So this one is lying on top of this lifting hook and the other one is just missing it, but they're also offset by a few centimeters so they can go alongside each other. And as you can see, there is some play in it. That's good. Maybe I want to make a little bit more play in it so that it can come over here and this one can go down a bit further. But what you see often on pictures is similar to this. So yeah, when it comes to that, it's pretty good. Yeah, I want to put it up now against the barrel and see how that goes up. And there will be two blocks on it. So this one will move over a bit because there will be a block welded on it. So I guess I have to take a little bit of the material off that's sticking out here, because that's now colliding. So now it fits. Only need to make the bottom rod and then everything can be finish welded. It's clamping down on each side, on all sides, but that's good. I think where the bolt clamps underneath, I can take a little corner off to make it easier to put that clamp on and make it a little bit shorter. Some small adjustments. And of course the padding on the inside. But for the rest it looks really good. I have already finished welded most of the parts. I've got these blocks back now as well. I still need to cut a slot in it, so I have to do that first. And then I can add it to the parts. One on this part will be welded to it, and on the other one there will be bushing on top and below, so it can still swivel. So I have to cut the slot in it first, as I said before I can add it, but I will finish grind these parts first because I already started on it. And so we'll finish this off first and then finish these parts. I've started working on these blocks. What I did first is drill a series of holes close to each other, preferably just overlapping, but when you do that then the drill can start to run off, and then you end up with one hole on one side and two holes on the other. And then with the grinding disc, cutting as deep as possible with a small grinder, the 5" or 125 millimeters. Here you can see this is one hole, but on the other side there's two holes next to each other. So I'll drill another one, so hopefully with a chisel I can knock this out. So this is the result. You can see here this hole started to run on that one, and got a similar situation here. That one completely ran into the hole next to it, and then I drilled another hole till halfway. Then you can feel the drill hitting the other walls, so then you have to stop, but yeah, it was enough to knock it out easily. Now I have to clean the backside, and I can do that with the abrasive disc. Maybe I will do it with a larger grinder because it's easier to reach the back, but I will see. And then last thing is to drill a hole through, and one side has to be tapped and the other side will be a bit bigger for the shaft of the bolt. When you have to tap holes in a block like this, where you have a through hole and then a bolt hole, if you tap from this side, if it's not too thick, then you have a guide for alignment, so then it always aligns. Got the parts welded up except for the rod in between. We'll clean up the parts first and then install them again, and then make the rod that needs to go in between the blocks. Thanks for watching this video. Yeah, you see everything is installed, front travel lock is ready, and there's also a rear travel lock. A little bit about the history. This vehicle was produced around the second week of April, and early May the front travel lock got replaced by one that could be released from the commander's position. So they wouldn't have to come to the front and disconnect everything, which makes it safer for the crew. And with that, also the rear travel lock wasn't used anymore. But yeah, we have the early travel lock. So in a later stadium we will still make that one, or hopefully find an original one. But yeah, looking at how little, looking at the amount of vehicles were made with the early style travel lock, it's unlikely that we will find one. But yeah, let's hope we find one. Maybe you guys, one of you guys knows one for sale, or information about it. And yeah, see you in the next video.